On Osrc News at 7, INEC declares AC's Hope Uzodinma winner of Imo State governorship election. Senate promises speedy passage of 2024 budget proposal. Nigeria Air Force strikes, kills scores of terrorists in Borno. And from the foreign scene, Israel opens evacuation corridor for babies in Gaza. My name is Sahid Arabisala. We begin tonight with the outcome of the off-cycle election in Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodinma of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has been declared the winner of the November 11, 2023 governorship election in Imo State, securing a second term in office. The announcement was made by the State Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC returning officer, Professor Fashino, after over 8 hours of collation of local government election results.
That is Uzodinma Oditika, Good Hope of APC, having certified the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed as the returning officer, Fashino Abayomi Sunday, dated 12th day of November 2023. I so present. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Declared governor by the Supreme Court in January 2020, secured his re-election in this poll, sweeping all 27 local government areas in the state. The All Progressives has condemned efforts by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate, Governor Doye Diri, to influence the relocation of results collation for Brass local government area in the Bayelsa State governorship election to Yenagoa, the state capital. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, in a statement, alleged that Diri was putting pressure on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Moka insists INEC must stand its ground and collate the votes of Brass local government area in Brass, as mandated by law, before moving to Yenagoa for the final state collation. He also condemned Governor Diri's incitement of violent protest at the Peace Park in Yenagoa, saying the people of Bayelsa vote and have results of the election declared in peace and safety. Still on the elections, an election observer, Yaga Africa, has raised questions over the failure of some polling units to conduct governorship elections in Imo and Kogi states, 2 of the 3 states, including Bayelsa, where the exercise was held on Saturday. The organization, in a statement by the chairman, Yaga Africa WTV Working Group, Dr. Husseini Abdul, called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to clarify the status of locations where elections did not hold, including the upload of results from polling units. It said the organization is committed to promoting more credible elections by providing independent information on the conduct of elections and independently determining if the results announced reflect the vote cast. Yaga Africa reaffirms its commitment to discharging its responsibility in the interest of Nigeria's electoral democracy. Elder statesman Edwin Clark has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to investigate reported cases of irregularities in Saturday's governorship elections held in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Clark made the call when a group of women from the Niger Delta paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja. He said the discovery of completed result sheets with names of voters even before the first vote was cast was very unfortunate. Clark, who is also the leader of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, said for INEC to redeem its image from the fallout of the 2023 general elections, the Commission must investigate alleged irregularities reported in the 3 states. Clark also expressed gratitude to the group for the visit, while advising women to continue to participate in the affairs of the country for the development of Nigeria. Now to other stories. Despite the delay by President Bola Tinubu to present the 2024 appropriation bill to the National Assembly, federal lawmakers have promised to treat the document with urgency and ensure it beats the December 31st deadline. The National Assembly also said the January to December budget implementation cycle would be maintained. The Senate specifically assured Nigerians that the budget cycle as amended by the 9th Assembly to run from January to December would not fail. The 9th Assembly had in 2019 amended the 2020 appropriation bill from the May-June cycle to January to December as the budget cycle. Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawalle says the Nigerian military is well equipped for modern warfare that is technological driven. Dr. Matawalle, who just returned from a trip from Turkey, said the federal government has acquired some attack helicopters to combat terrorism. He also said the Nigerian soldiers were well prepared for modern challenges, just as the nation had strong training institutions to ensure that those who were going to handle the equipment were well prepared to do so. Matawalle revealed that some of the soldiers had gone for training both within and outside the country on handling of the equipment before the equipment were brought. Now to Osun State, an early morning fire has destroyed goods worth millions of naira in Oja Tutu, the biggest market in Ile-Ife, Osun State. Though the cause of the latest incident was not yet known, the spokesperson for Osun State Fire Service, Adekunle Ibrahim, said when firefighters arrived at the scene, the inferno had destroyed the building of 16 shops and a container within the market. Operatives of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps that got to the scene ensured that goods were not looted as firefighters struggled to quench the fire. The public relations officer of the Corps in the state, Kehinde Adeleke, said operatives of the command were on guard at the scene to also prevent the fire from spreading to other parts of the market. Between July 2019 and December 2020, the market experienced 3 fire incidents which destroyed many shops and goods. And now to health. The United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, has identified Sokoto, Kebbi and Zamfara as the states with the highest burden of unimmunized children in Nigeria. According to the Global Children Body, the recent outbreak of diphtheria in Kebbi, Sokoto and Zamfara states were found to have occurred in locations with zero-dose children, and the outbreaks signpost the danger posed to children's lives by low immunization coverage levels. The Sokoto state government has identified the high rate of rejection of immunization in the state as well as Kebbi and Zamfara states as a result of ignorance. UNICEF Field Officer in Sokoto, Dr. Mariam Dawech, who disclosed this, stressed that immunization is the most cost-effective, high-impact intervention for dealing with vaccine-preventable diseases, especially in children under 5. She observed that Nigeria needs to build on the gains made in routine immunization by sustaining awareness of its importance in the minds of caregivers, communities, decision makers, and the public. Nigeria Air Force records success in the fight against terrorists. Details of these and more stories after this break. Please stay. Thanks for rejoining us on at 7. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook at Osrc TV, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel Osrc TV Undo. The High Command of the Nigeria Air Force says 2 major airstrikes undertaken by the air component of Operation Aden Kai have led to the dissemination of several terrorists taking cover at Ajigin and Banki Junction areas located in Borno State. According to the Director of Public Relations and Information of the service, Air Commodore Edward, the terrorists who had hidden 4 gun trucks on that thick trucks had earlier perfected plans to attack friendly troops locations around Damboa and Wajiroko. However, the destruction of the 4 gun trucks along with the occupants effectively degraded the capability of the terrorists to attack friendly forces and locals within the area. They assured that the terrorists will continue to feel the firepower of both the air and ground forces. And in Zamfara State, in Taraba, the Django community in Taraba State has called on the leadership of the State Police Command to immediately arrest, investigate, and prosecute the killers of a secondary school teacher in the state, Basi Impuye. A teacher working at Modo Secondary School in Jalingo was last week stabbed to death in the school premises by some of his students. The incident did not only arouse palpable tension across the state, but also crippled academic activities as the Academic Staff Union of Secondary Schools ordered the immediate suspension of learning activities in secondary schools across the state. Making the position known in Jalingo, the Genjo residents called on the Commissioner of Police to immediately arrest, investigate, and prosecute all the culprits in this heinous act. Spokesman for the residents, Ezekiel Nemo, also urged the state government to, as a matter of urgency, take over the responsibility of the 3 children left behind by the deceased to the highest level of education. Political bigwigs, friends and relatives of Victor Olabinton, the chairman of Universal Basic Education in Ondo State, Subeb, and former Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, were in Shupari, Akoko Southwest local government area for the burial of his mother-in-law, Mrs. Eunice Olorunfemi. They eulogized the late matriarch's humility and generosity. Omori Olangoji reports that Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu was also represented at the event.
Remains of late Mrs. Eunice Olorunfemi, who died on 10th of August 2023, was wheeled into St. James Anglican Church, Shukpari, Akoko, Diocese for the final funeral rites. The church pews filled up to the gallery, while other dignitaries took positions under mounted canopies, all in a bid to pay their final respects to a woman they called Mother. Bishop of the diocese, Right Reverend Jacobs Bada, who described Mama Olorunfemi as a friend of all, said she is a woman of faith who took after her husband, a giver, mentor, and source of happiness to all.
You are the mother of your siblings. And you told them, "Oh, every family that is here must go back home because Mama Olorunfemi and Baba Olorunfemi, they taught us how to live together."
The remains of the deceased, popularly called Aya Baba Don't Worry, was later interred at the church premises. The children, including wife of the former speaker, Mrs. Rachel Olabinton, praised her virtues.
She was a good mother, humble person, and very successful woman.
For me, she's not an in-law, she's a mother. And in all my journey through life, she has always been there for me. And therefore, I'm grateful to God that at least she left us behind and we are giving her a befitting burial.
Ìyá mi jẹ́ ẹni tó dára lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀, ẹni tó ní ìfẹ́, ẹni tó ń kó ènìyàn mọ́ra.
Ó jẹ́ nìkan tó jẹ́ pé normally Ọlọ́run ló fún wa ṣùgbọ́n dẹ̀ ti gbà padà.
Guests were later entertained with food and drinks and melodious music by the popular Demola Suzy Band. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, represented by Mr. Kolawole Babatunde and other dignitaries at the event, said they are moved by the various kind words in honor of the departed.
Honorable Labington, as you all know, is a man of the people. He's a father, he's a leader that has been able to, galvanize support politically for our party. And we owe him that duty to also make ourselves available to celebrate with him today.
It's our prayer that the demo of survivor will live long. Whatever we come here to do is to honor Right Honorable Victor Olabinton.
We thank God for the way he brought his children up and the love she had for everyone around her.
This is the reward of good work, hard work, and the chairman himself too. He's a grassroots person.
Born into the family of late Baraji Alabi of Osewa Quarters in Shopari Akoko, late Mrs. Eunice Olorunfemi was converted to Christianity by her late husband and remained committed till her last day at the age of 90. Omori Olahunbiji, Osrc News.
There is no specific moment or amount of time to grieve the passing of one's mother. Though Mrs. Juliana Shabia Liu died at the age of 93, friends and associates of one of his sons, Shabia Liu, still came together to give the deceased their last respect in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Our correspondent, Zimo Ibiemi, reports that Mrs. Aliu passed away and was interred last year, but the reception organized to celebrate her good dates was carnival-like. This report is presented from our studio.
This is not a political gathering, but a reception to mark the final burial of the late Mrs. Juliana Ashabia Liu. Dignitaries from all walks of life thronged the St. Thomas Event Center in Esikon to identify with one of her sons, Daria Liu.
Mommy was a wonderful woman who trained us, all of us. I am the only son who trained all of us to be righteous, to be honest, and to be forthright.
Some of the deceased brothers and children said Mrs. Aliu was one in a million.
Mommy is a very good person. I don't know what to say, and she's a very good woman. Very good woman. She entertained everybody.
Former Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Chief Omolade Oluwateru, the Iralepo of Isikan Kingdom, Oba Oluwagbemiga Olofin Ademola, and an Akure-born politician, Mr. Olumoyiwa Adu, also described late Madam Juliana Liu, a woman who trained her children on the path of truth and education.
When you see the qualities or the attributes that the son that brought me here today had exhibited in life, you can infer that he had very good upbringing from the woman. And when a mother has done something great for a son, that's when you see this kind of a thing happening after the death of such an individual.
There was a live band dishing out melodious songs as guests dined and wined. The late Mrs. Juliana Ashabia Liu was 23-year-old and died on the 10th of November last year.
Foreign scene, an evacuation corridor is being opened from the Al-Shifa hospital to Gaza's main road south. According to the Israeli military, it has also agreed to help evacuate babies from Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital to a safer facility. The Israeli military denied accusations it attacked Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, but has acknowledged clashes with Hamas fighters in the area. Adirunke Klauli has more.
Thousands of people seeking safety in southern Gaza have fled the enclave's main hospital as fighting continued in the area for the second day. This man says he lost his son in gunfire and he had to keep moving, leaving his body at the site. Speaking on the line, Palestinian senior plastic surgeon Dr. Ahmed Al-Makalati said most of the hospital staff and people sheltering at Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, had left, but 500 patients were still there. A Palestinian Health Ministry spokesperson said Israeli shelling had killed a patient in intensive care and fighting was limiting people's ability to move. Palestinian officials said 2 babies had died and dozens more were at risk after fuel ran out. At a news conference, Chief Israel military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the military will help evacuate babies trapped there. In this video released by the Israeli army, defense official Colonel Moshe Tetro says there are clashes between Israel Defense Forces troops and Hamas operatives around the hospital, but the Israeli military denied endangering it. Israel said earlier that doctors, patients, and thousands of evacuees who have taken refuge at hospitals in northern Gaza must leave so it can tackle Hamas gunmen, who it says have placed command centers under and around them. Hamas denies using hospitals in this way. Meanwhile, Hamas said it has completely or partially destroyed more than 160 Israeli military targets in Gaza, including more than 25 vehicles in the past 48 hours. But an Israeli military spokesperson said Hamas had lost control of northern Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu repeated in a press conference, said his aim was that Israel takes security control over Gaza for an indefinite period, saying, "We won't stop until the mission is completed." Dr. Rick Brenner, the Regional Emergency Director of the World Health Organization, says the situation is desperate.
50% of those hospitals are non-functioning right now. Those that are functioning are working well below their capacity because of a lack of fuel, a lack of medicines, a lack of water and necessary medical supplies. Doctors, nurses are completely exhausted and overwhelmed, and a number of the hospitals are under attack.
As the humanitarian situation worsened, Gaza border authorities announced that the Rafah land crossing into Egypt would reopen early this week for foreign passport holders after being closed on Friday. Adirunke Kolawole, Osrc News.
Surgeons in New York have performed the world's first complete eye transplant on a man, although not certain it will regain vision. Aaron James, who survived a high-voltage electrical accident, underwent 24 hours of surgery that replaced half of his face. Surgeons have been able to transplant corneas successfully for years. Akintunde Akishomola has more details.
Feel anything?
Surgeons in New York have performed the world's first complete eye transplant on a man, although it's not certain he will regain vision. Aaron James, who survived a high-voltage electrical accident, underwent 21 hours of surgery that replaced half of his face. Surgeons have been able to transplant corneas successfully for years. Aaron James is the recipient of the first ever whole-eye transplant in a human. Though he has not regained sight in it yet, it's an accomplishment that is being hailed as a major medical breakthrough.
The mere fact that we transplanted an eye is a huge step forward, something that within centuries has been thought about but's never been performed.
Until now, doctors have only been able to transplant the cornea. the clear front layer of the eye. James, who survived a work-related high-voltage electrical accident, needed a partial face transplant. Initially, doctors were just planning to include the eyeball as part of the face transplant for cosmetic reasons. The surgery took 21 hours.
You know, they told me, they said, honestly, we never expected it to make it to the transplant, you know. I mean, they never expected it to work at all. And they told me that from the get-go. But the fact that it's a wild blood flowing through it, I mean, you know, that's the first step, you know, and that's what I told them. I said, you know, even if I can't see, which I didn't have an eye there to begin with, you know, after the accident, you know, maybe at least, you know, y'all can learn something to help the next person.
In the 6 months since the surgery, doctors say the grafted eye has shown important signs of health, including well-functioning blood vessels and a promising-looking retina. Lead surgeon Dr. Eduardo Rodriguez says transplantation of a viable eye opens many new possibilities.
If the possibility of some form of vision restoration occurred, it would be wonderful. But there were significant concerns. The goal was first to perform the technical operation, ideally have it be vascularized, and then whatever happens after that, we'd have to determine with future studies.
Other research teams are developing ways to connect nerve network in the brain to sightless eyes through the insertion of electrodes, for example, to allow vision, meaning James might still regain sight in his transplanted eye.
And I don't think anyone can claim that he will see, but by the same token, they can claim that he will not see. If at this point, I think we're pretty happy with the result that we were able to achieve with a very technically demanding operation.
I mean, that's how you got to start it. You know, you got to start it somewhere. So hopefully this opens up a new path.
Akintunde Akinshimola for Osrc News.
To end Osrc News at 7, let's take a look at some of the major stories again. Candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Hope Uzodinma, has won the Imo governorship election. Governor Uzodinma secured the re-election and the majority of votes cast after sweeping all 27 local government areas in the state. Federal lawmakers have promised to treat the 2024 appropriation bill with urgency and ensure it beats the December 31 deadline, despite the delay by President Bola Tinubu to present it to the National Assembly. We also told you that Nigeria Air Force strikes have killed dozens of terrorists in Borno State. And from the foreign scene, the Israeli military says it will assist in the evacuation of babies trapped in Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. And that's the news tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.